Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Good Vibe Show. And today I have with me Dr. Rana Preet Gill. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Rana has written a wonderful book on the Gadar movement, which is the reason for our conversation today. The Gadar movement, A Forgotten Struggle by Rana Preet Gill. And what a fascinating cover with historic newspaper clippings and published by Penguin. So congratulations once more.
Thank you, sir.
And the fact that you have not been a historian, you are a veterinary surgeon, you researched so much and came up with such an important book. I mean, I am very impressed with this book. So, what is the secret? How did you do it?
So I think even I was intrigued by the other movement when I came to know about it. As I have written in the book as well, mentioned in the first chapter, why did I chose to write about Gadar. So one visit to Andaman and Selvar jail made me realize that there are so many unsung revolutionaries, especially in my state, born and brought up in Punjab, about whom I knew very little. So I think this motivated me to know about Gadar movement, particularly one revolutionary, Pandit Ram Rakha Bali, who was imprisoned in Selvar jail and lost his life there, whose statue was next to Veer Savarkar's statue in the Selvar jail. So his story inspired me because he was born in Hoshiarpur, he lived in Hoshiarpur, and he participated in Mandalay conspiracy, which was a part of Gadar movement. So his story motivated me.
I'll pause you. First, before we come to the story of the Gadar movement, let's come to the story of the book. So you visited the Andamans on a vacation.
Yeah.
And your senior colleague called you up and said that please go and visit so-and-so monument.
Yes.
And then how did the book come into being, come into that?
So initially I had not decided, not even thought about it, that I am going to write anything about Gadar movement. So it was only my own curiosity, my own lack of knowledge that propelled me to read Professor Harish Puri's book. So he has written so much on Gadar movement, and then I accumulated a lot of books and read them, thoroughly. So then I realized that there must be people like me who don't know anything about this movement. People who are living in Punjab, and when so many people from Punjab, Sikh peasants, they were part of this Gadar movement, though it was not purely a Sikh movement. But there were a lot of people from Punjab. So I thought these people, the people living right now, youngsters, middle age or old people, those who don't know about the Gadar movement, they will come to know if something is published right now. Because not many books were available online on this subject, and those which were available were written in Punjabi. So I thought to have a broader audience, so that more people come to know, this movement gains more visibility. So that's why.
The process involved a lot of research, visits to the library in Jalandhar. Tell us about that, and how did you contact some of the key persons who had knowledge of the Gadar movement?
So people who participated in the Gadar movement, obviously they are no more alive. So I did not get a chance to meet their families because I started reading about Gadar during COVID. So there were frequent disruptions. You could not get out of your homes. So I mainly relied on published material and published books. So Professor Harish Puri was a key person. He had written so much on Gadar movement, and I contacted him and I read his book, which has been published by Guru Nanak Dev University. And then there is a library in Jalandhar, in Deshbhagat Yadgar Hall, which has been built by Gadarites. And there is a lot of exclusive material available. There are some books, like one book on Lala Hardyal by Emily Brown. Only one copy is available in that library. And many other books and actual Gadar newspapers and Gadar Diya Gunja, the booklets which were published, were only available in the library. So whenever I got a chance during 2020 and 2021, I used to go to the library, and they were really very helpful, very supportive, those people. And they always made me the books available, got them photostated, I got them issued, brought them back home. So this is how it went.
So Lala Hardyal, now we're coming to the Gadar movement itself, was the key person. And the Gadar movement started perhaps abroad and there were a lot of links with the US and even other countries. These people were probably intellectuals, and you have covered each player in that movement. So, talk about some of the key persons of the Gadar movement.
So definitely Lala Hardyal, because Lala Hardyal was very intelligent person. He was so intelligent person that he has gone to England on a scholarship. And then when he got associated with the movement, he just gave up his scholarship. And what I have read about him, that he was so intelligent, always coming first in class, that his papers were, kept by the teachers as model test papers to be shown to other students. He was extremely brilliant and very mercurial as well at that time. So Lala Hardyal was definitely very important person. So he linked the peasants and the students and the revolutionaries. So he was the one who was instrumental in forming the Gadar party in Astoria, in Oregon State, in the United States.
Right.
So definitely he is an important player, though he steps away from the movement, once the British government tightened their nose around him, then he got away from the Gadar movement and its activities, but definitely he was instrumental in starting this movement and starting the Gadar newspaper and starting the Gadar Diya Gunja. And then it was Lala Hardyal's decision to publish the Gadar newspaper, not in English, but in Urdu and Punjabi. So this helped a lot, because publishing the newspaper in a vernacular language, in the languages which people knew in those times, both Urdu and Punjabi, they were able to connect more with it. Had the newspaper been published in any other language or English, because they were actually living in the United States, it would not have had that kind of impact. Apart from him, Son Singh Pakna, who immigrated to United States during those times. So he was a very authoritative figure in the Sikh community. So
Right.
people listened to him. And then Kartar Singh Saraba, with his charm, and his vivaciousness, and he was studying there. Then Vishnu Ganesh Pingle, both students, very energetic. Saraba used to publish this paper with hands, with a litho machine, because there was no provision of photostat at that time.
He was so young.
Yeah. And then definitely a Muslim leader called Muhammad Barkatullah, who was publishing some papers in Japan, and then he associated with Gadar movement. Then Raj Bihari Bose, who was a Bengali revolutionary, who came into picture later, who was later on called by the Gadar party after they came in India, and he led them. And definitely Sachindranath Sanyal, who was in charge of the Central India party faction of the Gadar movement.
Right. What is the overall impact of the Gadar movement on the freedom movement of India? I mean, what is the major contribution with it?
So, I think Gadar movement definitely did not get us independence, because it came quite earlier in the history, 1913 to 1918. But it did leave a legacy of sorts. Those people, those people were just Junooni log.
Passionate.
So, yeah, very passionate people, very Junooni log, who did not care about anything. They were, I would not call them whimsical, but they were like, these people were those who went to Canada and the United States to earn money. And they forget everything. They forget everything once they are enthused with this spirit of, that we have to free our country, that we are, when this consciousness comes into them, that we are the citizens of a slave country. And then suddenly patriotism becomes their religion, such a secular movement in which there are Hindus and Sikhs and Muslims and people of different regions of India. So they come back in those times when India is divided into, narrow divides of region and religion. These people get united in a foreign country and come back to wage a war. So I think this is a very important thing in those times, and this movement does, kind of leaves a legacy of people who were not thinking about caste, or who were not thinking about anything else. Even when they come back, they don't meet their families. They are just having this thing on their mind that we have to wage a Gadar and we have to get freedom. and they keep on trying despite the hiccups that there are moles and their plans are being leaked and they are being arrested and they are being martyred. And when some of them are imprisoned, the others are enthused with a new spirit that okay, we have to keep on fighting. So this never die spirit, I think
But that's well said. In fact, I think all these movements, they had their contribution to the freedom struggle, and ultimately the goal was achieved not by any single party or any single movement or any single person. Another thing I read was that some of them felt very disillusioned by the partition ultimately. And knowing about the partition, the key persons who were alive at that time were not very happy with ultimately how freedom was obtained. So, any comment on that?
Definitely, because back in those times, they had not thought that the country would be eventually, partitioned. Because even those people, the Punjab, it was a combined Punjab, East and West Punjab combined. So there are a lot of people from that side of Pakistan, Punjab as well. So I think they had never thought about this division, this divide being happening. So yeah, I think there must have been this division.
Right. And celebrities, famous persons, how did they react to your manuscript when you sent it to them to write the blurb? Or Mr. Sarna's poetry has been translated also. Zafarnama, I think he has translated. And also now, post-release of the book, how is it being received? So two parts to it.
Initially I was, little apprehensive that I am not a historian. Whenever I used to talk with someone or my friends, I used to think, but I am going to get a lot of criticism for this book because I'm not a historian. People are eventually going to point it out that she's not an academician. So she's basically just a writer and she has no authority to write on the other movement. So these were the feelings, in my mind. But I'm like really surprised and really honored that people have been very supportive of this book. People who have written so much on this book, Professor Harish Puri, Professor Chaman Lal, and to all those people whom the manuscript went, Amandeep Sandhu, Mr. Navtej Sarna, who is
back cover, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Navtej Sarna, who is definitely written a lot.
Foreign Secretary.
Yeah, who has written a lot. He's a very good author and definitely a very knowledgeable man. And all these people were very supportive, and I think because they were like, they really felt good that this movement is talked about now when nothing has been written for the past 10 or 15 years. So they have been very supportive. Yeah.
Do you think you could have attempted historical fiction like many authors do? Instead of writing a factual book, what they do is, these days they will create characters, the same characters, like supposing it's Aurangzeb.
Okay.
They'll take Aurangzeb and they'll prepare a fictional account. So it's not really what happened, it may be shades of that. They will prepare some romantic story, some intrigue, some complex relationship. So have you ever thought of historical fiction as a genre, or did you want to just bring out the missing link of the Gadar movement that people did not perhaps understand?
With this book, no, definitely it was not in my mind to write historical fiction because somewhere I thought it will be like diluting the identity of these people, So I was like pretty sure that I have to keep myself like
on
perfect.
facts.
Yeah, you have to concentrate on the facts. I cannot dilute them, by making it a fictional account. So, but definitely I did try like a storytelling way of
The mood
writing.
is storytelling.
Yeah, the way of storytelling. So I wanted one chapter to connect with another, and I wanted it to move. I wanted the narrative to be very breezy, and I wanted it to be like a story thing, so that once someone started reading, he should be pulled inside, and she would like to read more about it.
So I was looking at the chapter titles. I mean, you've got all of them linked with each other.
Yes.
Like the launch of the Gadar newspaper is one of them. Then a ship called Kamagata Maru, which we all know about. So things which are more, it's like a breezy story, as you say. And then you also connected with things like the reorganization of the Gadar party. And I've also seen something on, There's one on the Jagatpura murder and the Walls Bridge shootout. So basically, you put together lots of stories
Yes.
related and incidents related to that. Also, then you have also come to the conclusions. You know what happened to the court cases, and then what happened to the ultimately to the people who were there. You come into the all the important person, the arrival of Gadarites at Cellular Jail, and then aftermath also.
Yes.
You've also talked about the role of women in the Gadar movement, I was seeing, and then of course this Desh Bhagat Bhate's memorial, which is very important. Read. So it seems like very comprehensive effort, and 4 to 5 years of research, and how much time now the major publishing house must have taken about a year to bring it out.
So I started reading about Gadar movement sometime in the start of 2020. I think, then there was COVID and all. And after a year of reading or so, I started writing something. So before writing, I just started writing the chapters. I started just writing the chapter names and how I'm going to how I'm going to put across this book. And yes, then definitely contract with Penguin got signed in 2023. Then it took 2 long years to
Yeah,
actually.
it does with Penguin.
Yeah.
Major publishing house, being a writer myself, I know. So, what is your writing regimen or strategy? How do you write, Rana? If we come to, we detach ourselves from this book for now. You have 5 books now?
Yeah, this is the fifth one.
5th one. So, I also have 5, by the way. So, we good vibes of 5 book authors. So, how have you, what is your methodology? When do you write? How do you are a working professional in the government? So, to pick up a book, to write it, what is your strategy?
First of all, I think I make this constant effort to improve my writing. For that, I read a lot. So I am a very diligent reader. I read a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
can
books,
see that.
and now with this non-fiction book, I try to read. Earlier, I was like more inclined towards fiction, but after this book, I'm like trying to read more non-fiction as well. So whenever I pick up a book, I now try to assess it with the eye of a writer. I just try to see how well the book is written. I mean, what is my take out of this book? How can I learn from this book? I definitely enjoy the stories as well. But now I read a book and then reread it. And writing, definitely I try to write every day. So when I'm writing, I like mornings. We have talked about this
You
earlier
told me
also.
that you wake up at 3:30
Yes.
or something in the
3.
morning.
When I write, I try to
3
wake up. Yeah. So not every day, but definitely 5 days a week. 3 in the morning, and I like write till 5:30 or 6. And then it has to be every day. And this is how.
Quite amazing. How do you edit your own work? So I find that increasingly I'm becoming more detached and more professional with my own editing. Because first you have to read it again, and then you have to, make it presentable for the editor. So you have to cut some lines or parts yourself, or prune them or tailor them. So are you ruthless with your own writing, or is the editor more ruthless?
I think the editor is more ruthless because it is very difficult to edit your own work. And my editor Karthik Venkatesh was a big help when it came to this book. So yeah, he was very brutal, very blatant, and he made me rewrite some chapters. He was not happy with the way I've written them. And I think his editing helped a lot. He made the book more crisp. Otherwise, what I had written was a more lengthier version. And definitely,
That helps.
yeah,
That definitely
professional editor, and big thanks to my editor Karthik
I'm sure.
Venkatesh for
I'm sure.
editing this book.
If he's watching, you better watch it later. The other thing is that have you felt yourself being transformed from the level of author that you were before the Gadar movement book and now? So now have you reached another pedestal or another level?
See, that I don't know, but it definitely feels very good to see my book lying right in front of me, published by Penguin.
Yeah, sorry.
I think writing this book has made me more grounded because it took a lot of time, a lot of research, and because of the time involved, the effort involved, I think I'm more grounded. And now something, if I want to write, I want to write something that really matters, So it definitely changed me as a person. It made me more disciplined. I've written in the book as well. It made me more disciplined and definitely more determined. That so there were times when I thought it was too difficult a task. I just wanted to give up because because the movement has so many facets, you know.
It's human after all, at
And
times.
yeah, it had so many facets, and I wanted to bring them all together. But then I was like, I have to continue. So it was, yeah. So the book has definitely changed me.
I'm sure it has. I too started out with novels, which were innocuous, bubbling. You too have a couple of novels, and then you have a collection of your stories. I was like that as well. And then I realized that being a speaker, I should write something which is commensurate with my speaking. So I wrote Finding Success Within. Then I collected my essays into a title called It's Still a Wonderful Life. Now I collected my middles into something called It's the Middle of Everything. So this non-fiction which you talked about, which I'm talking about, do you think that it is taken more seriously, number one? More difficult to write, but more fulfilling for the author?
So I think every genre has its own importance. Some people like to read fiction, others like to read non-fiction. I won't say the fiction is not that important as non-fiction, or non-fiction is taken more seriously, but definitely it is something which actually happened, you know. So I think something which has actually happened, people tend to associate more with it, and then this is definitely about a movement about which people don't know that much, you know, unsung revolutionaries. So I think that is the reason people connect with non-fiction, because it actually happened. But then definitely fiction has its own place, you know. Fiction is like imagination, it takes you to a different world. So I think both are important.
Both are important, I agree. What about Punjab? Let's talk about the interiors of Punjab. You're pretty much from the interiors, and you have written in English. And Punjab, the youth is not, even the whole of India, not enough into books. There are not enough writers and there are not enough readers in the masses, if you see. The inclination towards books is not there. So Punjab particularly, what do you think needs to be done? And how can we encourage not only English but also Punjabi writing?
Okay. So I think to encourage reading and writing, we need students they should be led towards other books apart from textbooks. So when I was young, my father used to bring all kinds of books. So apart from textbooks, apart from just this need of scoring marks, you know, I was reading all kinds of books. So I think then it becomes the duty of the parents to inculcate this habit of reading. This is very important, you know. To be a good writer, you have to be a good reader. And then definitely the part of school comes in, that you have to encourage students towards creative thinking, you know. This thing about marks, that the textbook studying, you know, this shouldn't be thrust upon students.
Right.
So both reading and writing should be encouraged at home and in the school. And apart from that, I think then the role of social media, it has to be curtailed, you know, to some point.
Has to be balanced, absolutely. Now you are a veterinary officer, you're a government officer, you're not. So you're a role model for many young girls. You have a daughter of your own who's growing up well. We have 2 daughters. These young girls of tomorrow, young girls of today who will become the seniors of tomorrow, how do we inspire them to becoming more confident, more capable, more creative, and more assured of their success? What can we do?
So I think instead of just teaching them and telling them to do this, youngsters emulate whatever the parents and the elders are doing. So I think because I was reading at home most of the time, my daughter picked up this habit of reading. So she reads a lot. So I think we have to teach by example and not by just thrusting something upon them. So and plus definitely, like, you are a motivational speaker, you motivate youngsters. In this age, this thing also helps. So they listen to the positive words. They are inclined towards that. So I think, more by doing yourself whatever you want your child to do.
I think that's a good idea. Instead of telling them or do this, you have to be the role model and they follow. Lastly, this is a good vibe show. What is your good vibe for the day? What do you feel happy about? What makes you really thrilled? Apart from the book, you can add the book. What are your happiness factors?
I like to exercise. So exercise every day in the morning. It makes me happy. I do bhangra. That makes me happy. I do yoga.
On your own or
No, I go to a gym.
You go.
So yeah, so I do exercise, bhangra, yoga. That makes me happy. So I'm learning something new. I'm learning swimming. That also makes my day, is to learn something new. And I'm doing something very new which I've never done in my life. I'm making reels for this book.
That's
That
good.
is also something
Very important.
something new for me. And apart from this, spending time with my daughter, that makes me happy. And reading a good book. When I'm done with a good book, that really gives me joy.
I think the whole episode has focused upon joy from reading, definitely, but also being all rounders in terms of reading, writing, and growing. Like Rana has mentioned how she grew through the process of writing this book. Life is a continuous journey where we keep on evolving. And if we are what we say, then the youngsters will also follow that. So I think we've learned a lot from this episode. And we enjoyed the conversation. I'm sure the viewers will
Same here.
enjoy watching it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.